Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the introduction to a video that I am so happy and glad that I finished. On September 15th, I went to my public library and I picked up a couple of books that I read in 2020, some of the books that just really stood out to me. And today, on November 1st, I am finally finished reading those 5 books. I have so much respect for the booktubers who are reading books that are suggested to them, or maybe books that they just wouldn't pick up, because I planned to do this, and all of these books are books that I actually really enjoyed and liked in 2020, and it still took me so long to get through all of them. I read a lot, but I really do not read anywhere near as much as I could, and I think that's just what took me so long, because there were just sometimes days, if not even a week, where I did not pick up a particular book. I had to read these books in a lot of different modalities. Some of them were amazing audiobooks, some of them I flew through as ebooks, some of them I was able to just read handheld, and I finished. I'm so proud of myself, honestly. With that being said, there is a lot of footage from the past 6 weeks, and yeah, it was just a lot. I mean, it's reading and then some bookshelf stuff, and Oklahoma City and Houston, and our house has countertops now. And yeah, so please enjoy. The first book that I read was What Lies Between Us by John Mars. And then I read Normal People by Sally Rooney. Then I read Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. And then I read Luster by Raven Leilani. And I just finished The Mothers by Brett Bennett last night on Halloween. Wow, all the trick-or-treaters are coming to the door. Today is October 15th, and the last time that I picked up the book for my reading vlog was October 4th. At this point, I kind of feel like it's more of a social experiment to see if I will finish a TBR, because I'm just such a mood reader. I've read like 2 or 3 other books that are not the books I'm supposed to read. It's Saturday, and I just finished up like a 3-mile run. It was absolutely brutal. I just ran on Thursday. I don't know. The legs were giving out. Almost 3. I'm about to make some meals for nutrition, and I genuinely want to sit in my reading chair. I really never have like an urge to sit in my reading chair. I want to sit in my reading chair and really read for like a long time, like 2 or 3 hours, just in my room, fall candle, and read. I think that I could really finish if I just did it. I'm about to put on a face mask that I got from Amazon. It's like a pack of 16. Amazon was having like this Prime sale or something a couple of days ago. They're all different, and I was like, this is such a good like buy. Like 16 face masks. You don't have to do one every single day. And then also, this is just one of them. I got these eye masks. I think I got like 10, I think. And they were on sale. and it's just, yeah, 20 pairs. And I actually wore those yesterday. I'm not gonna lie, those are a little bit strong. They definitely tingle, and they're just like such a vibe. So I'm on page 100 of Red at the Bone. It's crazy how I'll put a book down and then start reading it really quickly again. Yeah, this is looking like a 5-star. For me, again, I gave it 5 stars in 2020. This is just one of those books that is just really beautifully written. To me, I always just love when a book can be so meaningful with so few words. I'm on page 100. I think this might be like 200 pages, but it reads really fast because it's not like walls of text. It's not quite prose, but it's definitely just, I don't know, it's kind of like, it doesn't really give too much detail. It just tells you kind of exactly what you need to know about the scene. I would not say that the writing is like Sally Rooney whatsoever, but I do think that there is kind of that similarity in, we might not necessarily know exactly what the character is wearing or like what their floor plan is or like the color of every single tree. And so there is definitely beauty in like those descriptive books like that, but there's still so much to be said with so few words that I just think is really gorgeous and impactful. I'm pretty sure that I think that I'll be able to finish this one today, and then I think I'm going to start on Luster by Raven Leilani. That's also a shorter one. I was going to leave The Mothers by Brett Bennett to the very end just because I remember that one taking like a little bit longer for me to read when I first read it in 2020. So it's Sunday. I finished Red at the Bone last night. 5 stars again. It was so good. I actually wrote down some quotes that I took from it for the second time reading it. I feel like it was even more important and even more just, I don't know, so descriptive, and I definitely think it was even more moving 2 years later, older. Like, there's like just definitely parts of it that I forgot, like just honestly, but like the connections 2 years later now at 23 than first reading it, I probably was actually only 20. It was just so good. I actually wrote down some quotes in my notes that I'll go over like at the end. I also finished rereading 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. So I actually read this at the beginning of the year in 2022, but I just wanted to reread it again. I read it a lot slower this time. I like actually dedicated my undivided attention to this like earlier in the year, and even as I was reading it, I kind of felt like it was one of those books that you could like read an essay or so a day. I actually think that's like probably pretty good, like one essay a day, if not one every other day, and you can kind of read it all year, because I do think that some of the essays can become repetitive if you're reading it every single day, but if you're reading it all year, by the time you kind of come across a theme that's already been mentioned, it might not seem so repetitive. I've been reading it after like doing my devotional in the morning. That's also 100 days, but I've like read like 2 chapters after, and then some days I miss, and all kinds of things. I started Luster last night by Raven Leilani. This is another short one. I think it's like only 200 pages. And yeah, I was already kind of like in a vibe reading it. I'm only on page 6, so I'm gonna read this one again, and maybe I can knock it out and finish it tomorrow. I think I mentioned that I saved The Mothers by Brett Bennett for last because I just know that it's gonna take me a little bit longer. I'm about to put on these eye patches and just start reading it. All right, today is October 21st. I feel like it's just gonna get funnier and funnier as I edit this. Like, it's just like how far along it takes me. But it's actually Friday afternoon, really turning more so into the evening. It's almost 5. I took probably like a week or so off of reading Luster by Raven Leilani. It's ridiculous, but I am committed to finishing this video. I don't care if it takes until December. I will finish this. Anyway, I didn't realize how like not far I got into it. I'm only was on chapter 2. Yeah, like I was only to chapter 2. I just finished chapter 2. I'm about to start reading chapter 3. The chapters are long. I have the book, like I actually own it, and I was able to get the ebook copy of it. Sometimes I just feel like if you're not really like meshing with the book, like maybe you know that you would enjoy it, but for whatever reason you're just not able to really concentrate or focus on it, just kind of changing the modality of the way that you're reading that book. Like for me, like I have the handheld book, so I was like, maybe if I just read it on an ebook, and I really find that I'm like kind of flying through it a lot quicker. In some books it's like the complete opposite, or the audiobook is like really good. I actually just finished Daisy Jones and the Six on audio. That took like a day to listen to, maybe 2. That was really good, but I don't know if I would have liked it if it wasn't for the audiobook, because I feel like the audiobook was so good. Also, I broke my permanent retainer on my bottom teeth, which is just the most terrifying thing that it's ever happened to me. I've had a permanent retainer in my mouth for 10 years when I got my braces off, and I was barely 13. So I'm very nervous and concerned, but I scheduled an appointment, and I think I'm just gonna have it completely removed and just get like a removable retainer, because I broke it flossing. So if you know, you know. It's kind of, actually it's very difficult to clean and floss your teeth where you have that permanent retainer. And it's kind of something that you can get like a water pick or something, or I don't know. I usually let the dentist handle it, because I feel like you have to be very particular. But anyway, I think maybe it's just because it's so old that like the wire actually snapped and popped, and so I'm worried about my teeth shifting because my bottom teeth are crooked, which is why I have braces. So I scheduled an appointment. The earliest I had was like Wednesday, 9:30. I usually like to try to go. I'm like making the first appointment because I like to like go on about my day. But yeah, so that's gonna be fun. Also, I washed my hair. I think it actually looks nice. Like I feel like I'm always trying new products, but like also it's like first day hair, and it's like just not your best, you know. Like I'm a really like a big hair, but also it's kind of growing, right? It's kind of growing. Might see. Oh wow, she's out of the frame. What? Come on. That's like truly crazy. All right, back to the book. Alright y'all, it is October 22nd, and I just got my nails done at the nail salon. I haven't got them done in so long, but I have something important coming up, and I wanted to make sure that they looked nice. I finished Luster this morning. I gave it 5 stars this time. The first time I read it, I gave it 4 in 2020. I think that just reading it now, I don't know, I really do feel like as I've grown, that like the books have grown on me. I think that Luster was about a 23-year-old, and I don't know, I feel like it kind of like captured the Black experience so well. And just the dialogue about hair and like seeing yourself was just so, I don't know, it was so deep to me, or it was really good to me. So yeah, I'm about to start reading The Mothers by Bret Bennett, and I can't believe that I think that I might actually get this video finished and like able to edit it before November. All right, y'all, here's what the house is looking like. This is my boyfriend's office. Kitchen. Cabinets are already in. This is where the sink's gonna go. The dishwasher, the stove, and the overhead microwave, oven, and no countertops. Nice pantry, good size. Our big open room. Probably put the TV in here or right here, but that's our like foyer. It's windy. All of our windows, and there's our breakfast nook. Somebody on the phone. Shower, wow. This is different. I have a linen closet. It's where our toilet's gonna go. And this is our closet. It smells just like paint. We have gray cabinets, I think, in the kitchen and in both the bathrooms. Oops. Be 2 sinks there. We have like a pretty decent foyer. So we'll have to decorate that. And then here's like the first wing. This is gonna be our second bathroom, like our guest bathroom. Gray, there's no lights, so, but yeah. And then we have 2 bedrooms. So this is the first room, also probably gonna be the guest room just because it's right in front. And then there's like a 2-door closet, which I guess I didn't realize was 2 doors. I think this room is bigger. And then this is the second one on the side of the house. It just has a window in the corner here. Yeah, that room is definitely bigger. But they do have another window in the closet, which I think could be cute. I definitely see this room more like, I don't know, I just see it as like a workout room. Like, I can see the Peloton in here, maybe a treadmill and some weights and stuff. So yeah, we have 3 bedrooms. The study is, it was a bedroom, but we chose the option to make it a study. So I have a lot of books. This is our laundry. It'll be really nice when the, wow, I didn't see this. It'll be really nice when some lights are in here. And then I think this is another closet. Yeah, so that'll be cool for like coats and things when it's time. This is my boyfriend's study. He has like a really nice window. Well, it's our study, but he works from home, so he'll be in here most of the time working. But we have tons of books, so I just always envisioned the books being on this wall. These are like the false French doors. They will have like true windows, but yeah. And then you walk out, and oh my gosh, can't wait. Here's like a better look at our breakfast nook area. So we have like 7 windows. This is actually a pretty big area. When we looked at, it wasn't a model, it was like kind of like a stock home that they had. I don't think we really came over here and really realized like how big this breakfast area was gonna be. So we really need to be thinking about a dining room table. But yeah, like it's really big and open. It's definitely just gonna be so, I mean, it's crazy. Like we've been here for the entire process of nothing, like just concrete slab, dirt, grass, everything. So yeah, can't wait to just see it. Should be finished maybe in December. Okay, so when was the last time we were here? Last Sunday? A little bit over a week later, we got our countertops. Ooh, I'm surprised at how well it matches. I mean, I know we went and did the design process, but it really flows well because there's like gold specks. Stovetop will come here. And got a nice sink. Probably should also like measure the underneath the countertop because it looks a little bit low, I guess, just to make sure the bar stools fit. Also, still no lights, but we got our tile. I'm not gonna go in because the grout's not laid yet, but this is like the tile that we have in every other part of the house that's not the kitchen because we have wood. So I think that must be the last thing. And then I forgot about this linen closet that's gonna be in the second bathroom. There's our stone. Hopefully it gets a little bit cleaned off before they start decorating or you know, putting it on the house. I'm in the closet for like, I would say this is probably like the true third bedroom. It's a little bit smaller, but it has this really nice closet. And I was mentioning that I could see it as a workout room, but I don't know. I mean, even the lighting is really nice. It's about 10:30, 11 in the morning, and it's like pretty decent lighting. Also, there's that coming in from the closet. So I don't know. I mean, but I really do think it needs to be like the miscellaneous room, and then this room could be the guest room because they probably have the best lighting during the middle of the day. I really wish we could go in and show you, but we have like a dark gray tile in our shower. That was like something that we customized. We actually kind of forgot what color it might be, but same tile on the floor, and we also did it behind the bath, so a little bit of a better look, but it's the exact same in the shower.
So I don't touch my skin, because my eyes, yeah.
All right, y'all, so I have been reading for about 30 minutes, and I decided to come downstairs and put together this stationary bike. Yeah, we got one as a family. It's a Yasuda. I'm not sure what the exact model is. It's on Amazon, but we got it on the website. They were actually having a sale. It was like $250, maybe a little bit more. And yeah, we just wanted another option for cardio, and it's gonna go upstairs. We have a treadmill in the garage, and I really just was tired of going in the garage and everything. It's just like, I don't know, but I'm gonna put this together, and it's like 60 pounds. I could have took the box upstairs, but I just could not get a grip on it. I'm the only one home. So yes, this vlog is just literally the most randomest thing I've ever done. To the audiobook of What Lies Between Us. That is it's not like a classic you know, thriller, psychological thriller, but it's kind of in that vein. It is about a girl named Nina and her mom have a very kind of difficult relationship, and so I don't want to go too much into detail because there are some parts of the book that you really truly don't realize until like layers and layers in. But I will say that their family and home dynamic is very interesting, and it kind of splits back and forth between times in regards to, you know, Nina being a child and also before. And then her mom, like, you know, as they get older. I remember when I first read it in 2020, and I remember feeling like there was sides or something. Like it was like, oh, you're on the mom's side, you're on Nina's side. There was definitely a lot of details that I forgot, and I think that that made it even more engaging now. Now, as I've listened to it again, there's definitely no sides to be on. I think that everybody is not a good character, but the twist at the end is really good. And John Marrs is just one of my favorite authors, and I definitely think that that one held up for me. The next book that I read was Normal People by Sally Rooney. In 2020, I gave this 3 stars. I just remember not being very impressed by it. There was like maybe 2 key moments that I remember like a lot from when I first read the book now, and that's like another thing I wanted to say, especially with these last 4 books. What Lies Between Us was definitely kind of more of like a fun story. I feel like the other books were a lot more layered, and it's really kind of crazy just within 2 years, like just mentally kind of the way that I see things. I think that it's probably also just because of the way that I remember it, but I just think that I don't know, there's a lot more complexity that I can see now in some of the books, and for that I think that I've rated it higher. Like for Normal People, I thought it was like a good story. I really enjoyed Sally Rooney's writing, and I have gone on to buy her other books since then. My favorite of hers is Conversation with Friends. But I felt like she's one of those authors that can do a lot with little words, and that's always very impressive to me, and those are actually some of my favorite books. I was definitely able to kind of see like the character development and the growth, and just also Marianne and Connell's relationship. Just I remember it a lot more. I also thought it was pretty realistic, like just the ebbs and the flows and everything like that. I gave that one 5 stars. I'm sorry if the first two I'm not really so in depth, because I literally read them like in September. The next book that I read was Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. I gave this 5 stars then, and I've given it 5 stars again. I wish I could give it more. It is just this very beautiful short novella about kind of generations. Honestly, I wouldn't say that there's really a main character. It's kind of about a cast of characters, this African-American family that all kind of circle around this like brownstone that has ran in the family, but one of the main settings is Brooklyn, and it just follows Melody, who is the youngest character. She's just turning 16. Her mother, who had her when she was 15, the grandmother, the grandfather, Melody's father, and the way that the author just writes was just so incredible. She's one of those authors that can not use so many words but still convey something really beautiful and thoughtful. It's one of those books that is so short that anything that I say might give a spoiler, but just know that it is about the generations of that family, and that every person kind of has their own perspective and point of view. And then at the end, there's like this gut punch that you almost don't realize how wrapped up you are in everybody else's perspective, that you're not even thinking of the time, and like the location was so important. And I forgot that, and it got me so hard in the end. But I loved some of the words that the grandfather was saying, and I actually wrote them down. And I haven't really started, like, first of all, I don't annotate, but I just started this year like writing down quotes, because there's just some things that are just really beautiful that stick out to me, and this is some of the words. So this was like when he was describing the relationship with the grandmother years and years ago, because of course now they have a daughter and a granddaughter, and he said, the way she'd look at me like we had all the hours in the world to spend just grinning at each other. I think that's so like cute. And he's like describing, you know, before everything changed, you know, and just how life goes by. And then the grandmother speaking to the grandfather says, "You feel like dancing?" He asked me, and I nod, because I know I don't have a whole lot more dances with him. I know the dance card God gave us is almost punched through. I can't. But yes, 5 stars, so beautiful. Just really digs into like the Black family. Like, I thought it was just very relatable, and yes, I loved it. The next book that I read that I read like the first chapter and then I didn't read it for a week, was Luster by Raven Leilani, and then I was able to find the ebook and I finished it in a day. It's actually not very long at all. It's the story of Eddie. She is like 23 or 24, and she's working at like some job that we really can't tell if she likes or not in Manhattan, and she ends up meeting and dating this man who has made this agreement with his wife that, you know, he can have an open relationship, and, you know, there's rules and everything like that, and she's kind of just, I guess, enthralled by the thrill of it all. And then through certain circumstances, things happen, and she ends up moving into their home and establishing a relationship with his wife and daughter. I feel like that sounds like a spoiler, but it's really not, because there's so much more depth to all of the characters. And I just thought that the way that Raven Leilani writes and conveys her characters were really, really good. Every single character was extremely complex, but in a way that you kind of just get it. Like, there are some parts of Eddie that are extremely relatable. her description of her hair and her skin and the way that she feels seen and unseen, but then also, of course, that, you know, not everybody can necessarily relate to dating someone's husband, and like maybe knowing that, or like knowing their wife and living in their home. And so but I feel like Leilani, or Raven Leilani, was really able to make every character consumable. And I think that, I know that there are a lot of people, and they will, which is fair and it's valid, and I've also done it before, where they will rate a book lowly because they don't like the character, and I understand that. But I think that it says a lot when you don't really like or resonate with the character, but the writing is just really good. And so even if the character don't grow, even if you're like, I can't relate, I don't know, it's not just, you know, speaking to our main character, but there's, you know, more characters in this story. But even if you're just like, I don't really care for them, but the way that she wrote them, you know, they are who they are. And I liked it a lot. When I first read it, I gave it 4 stars, and I'm not really sure why. I think that I read it quickly this time around. I think that it took me a longer time, and that used to be a big measure, like in 2020 during the pandemic, of if I enjoyed a book or not, as if it took me a really long time. Yeah, that was definitely a thing for me back then. Nowadays, I'm very grateful and thankful if I have the time to sit and read for an hour. That's like a gift. So but yeah, I liked it. And the last book that I read, which is the freshest on my mind because I just finished it, is The Mothers by Brett Bennett. This book was 5 stars for me in 2020, and it is again 5 stars for me now in 2022. I just vividly remember one of the final lines of the book that stood out to me, and that was why I chose to reread it. And I think that for this one, so this was like a popular book at the time, and I picked it up not really knowing anything about it. I had no idea what it was about. I just knew that it was written by a Black author and that it was good. It was like, you know, at the top of Goodreads and everything. And so I think that that's why I liked it so much at the time, is because I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Now, of course, in reflection, I know what it was about. I have thoughts. Honestly, I really thought about making this a spoiler-ish. So I will say it's like spoiler-ish. I'm not going to give the full story, but I think that there are like some secondary details. So The Mothers follows, it initially follows, I would say, Nadia and Luke, but then it definitely breaks off and it introduces us to a third character named Aubrey. And then all of those characters also have side characters. Everybody is interacting with each other in this entire book, but it follows mostly, I would say, Nadia Turner, and she starts off the book as a 17-year-old girl who her mother chose to end her own life, I think 2 years prior to when we begin following, like in real time. And kind of the way that she copes with that, and by the way that she decides to cope with that, is that she starts seeing and dating Luke Shepard, and they know each other through church. I don't think they've had like contact before they decided to start seeing each other, but she ends up becoming pregnant, and she decides to not keep the pregnancy. She has a lot of plans in the future, and you know, that was her choice. And she decides to end the pregnancy, and then her and Luke kind of had this agreement that he would come pick her up after the procedure, and he does not. And I think that the book starts from there. That is a very central point and theme in that book. I would say that this is not only about mothers, because everybody that I mentioned, the 3 main characters, it does definitely discuss their relationship with their mothers, but I think that abandonment is a big theme as well. And it definitely impacts the way that all of our characters act and behave. I really can appreciate Nadia's character. I think that she was very layered, and I think that she grew a lot. I will say she had a lot of character development. I feel like by the end of the book, she was very clear with how she felt in regards to not only her mother's passing, but also the way that her father treated her and the way that her boyfriend treated her, and the way that Luke treated her. And she, you know, was very clear that she felt like she had to take care of herself, and that was why she made the decisions that she made, because she knew that that's what she had to do. I'm not saying she was perfect. She definitely made some questionable choices that I don't agree with in regards to her friend, but I'll leave it at that. I think that there was so much that was going on in her life that affected her, and I think that Brett Bennett wrote her very well because she was extremely complex. Aubrey deserved better from everybody. She deserved so much better. She was so sweet and forgiving, and she had her own struggle and her own background, but she was so understanding and kind, and she deserves so much better in this entire book. I thought she was just so thoughtful, and she was just, I feel like she didn't give herself enough credit. And I think that you know, I feel like that's a theme as well. Like, she was super sweet, super kind, but she didn't feel like she deserved more based on things that had happened to her. I'm not saying that, you know, she just didn't feel like she deserved more. There was definitely reasons why, and so I think that she settled a lot, and I think that she settled a lot in her friendships and her relationships, and that's all I'll say without giving away too much about her, because she is kind of like a turning point in the story, and I don't want to spoil it because that was like kind of the bigger turning points. But then we have Luke Shepard. He was, I guess I should clarify, so he was the pastor's son. So we're in that realm. Like, you know, he was a football player. He was a really good football player in high school, and then he had this very traumatic injury, like the leg break, and it was on video, and he was like supposed to go to college, and they rescinded his offers and all of that, and so he was struggling with that. I didn't care for his character. I think that he didn't take a lot of responsibility or accountability for his actions, and Nadia made some questionable decisions, but she stood her ground and she called him out by the end, and I was so proud of her because he was older than her. And I'm not saying it was like this crazy big age gap, but he was older than her, like 4 years older than her, and he knew better. And not only that, but I'm not gonna say, but who he ended up, you know, dating, I think she was a year younger than Nadia. So I don't know, I feel like I don't say he took advantage, because I don't think he, like, there was never any indication, there was never any writing involved that would have, you know, insinuated that he took advantage based on his age, or that he thought that people were naive or anything in that way. But I think that based on his character, he was immature. Perfect, he was immature. I think that I will say, because I think I already kind of talked about, definitely talked about Nadia's parents. I don't want to talk too much about Aubrey's because she's a lot deeper into the book, but Luke, it talks about mothers. He was the only person in this book that had a current 2-parent household, and I think that it just kind of goes to show like the parenting, because his mother covered his you-know-what, and because of that, I don't think that he took accountability till the very end of the book, which was like 8 to 10 years later after the book started, and he was 4 years older than Nadia. So he was in his 30s, and he was still not grown up. And I hate to say it, but yeah, I didn't care for his character, but I think it was necessary, because that's the reality. I mean, there are just some people like that, but it's just especially after I closed the book and I reflected, and I'm like, he was like that because of his mom and his parents, you know. It's not just his mom, of course, and that was also something that I kind of just didn't remember with this book. There's a lot of yes, there's mothers, the mothers of the church, all of our characters' mothers, and the impact of motherhood on our characters, but also the fathers are really important as well, and that's kind of like an undertone. And I think that it's like not like, I think it's a thing, but it's not a thing, you know? Like, I feel like it's called The Mothers, but I think that Brit Bennett knows what she is doing in regards to just parental relationships in general and how it feels to be parented, because the fathers in this book are not off the hook. I want to say that and be clear, because Luke's father is the pastor of the church where all three of them congregate, right? That's his congregation, that is his flock. He's the shepherd, and I think that he thought he was doing the right thing, but he kind of just did the same thing, you know, leading into, I'll take care of it, you don't got to worry about it. And he knew he was wrong to do what he did. He had a hand in everything. Also, I feel like this book had a really interesting take on guilt, and I kind of resonate with it, because without saying too much, but there is a point in the story where people are having a conversation and one of our characters is like, you know, like, we're not gonna do this, like, you're not gonna come in here and act like this is all okay because you're guilty for the way that you treated me. And I thought that was like very profound. Like, it's so true, you know. Sometimes people are like, she's like, don't come in here and say anything to me or do anything because you're moving off of guilt, because if you didn't feel guilty you wouldn't even be here. And I was like, yeah, I agree, because some of these things that people did, it was not giving. And I'm not saying that guilt isn't a good motivator. Genuinely feel sorry, like, because you know that you hurt someone. Like, I feel like the motivation behind the sorriness and the guilt, like, do you feel guilty within you and it's like this thing where it's like, I can't believe that I did this, or are you sorry that you hurt someone? And I don't know, it's layered. Also, you know, I like to read a Goodreads review. I felt like a lot of people were saying that, you know, with Nadia, that they felt like Brit Bennett didn't leave a lot of, I don't want to say discussion, but the grief process behind Nadia's choice to end her pregnancy wasn't realistic, or it kind of didn't make sense. I will say that the book in itself is not extremely like deep. Like, there's not a lot of dialogue between the characters. It's very descriptive. It's third person, so there's a lot of narrating. We're getting like bits and pieces here and there to build up to this fuller picture. It's not ever at any point like these long conversations, or, you know, her saying that she's upset. But I think that it did, and I think that honestly, this is all dependent from, you know, woman to woman, but I really think that she did, and I think it was written well, because not only was that a choice that she had to make at 17, but she also lost her mother. And throughout the entirety of the book, she thought about that decision for years to come. Like, at every turn, there wasn't any part in which it almost seemed like she was, I don't want to say regretful, because I think that those choices are hard to make anyway, but there was never any point where it didn't seem like she wasn't grieving that decision, if you know what I mean. And so obviously I had to give that 5 stars, because as you can see, I just have so much to say. But yeah, I'm so happy that I did that. I cannot say I would do something like that again. I'm such a mood reader. That was hard for me to like read a TBR, and I was reading other books at the same time as well. I actually read 8 books in October, which is the most I think I've read all year. I never read that many books in a month. And The Mothers, which I actually have, I need to take it back to the library because I've had this for a long time. Don't worry, I renewed it. So, but I want whoever wants to read it next to have it. Mothers was my 49th book, and so whatever book I decide to read next is going to be my 50th, and it's November 1st. So this would be the fastest that I have. I read 50 books last year, and I didn't finish it until like late December, like right around Christmas. Well, I guess mid-December. And so I'm already like 6 weeks ahead of where I was last year. So yes, and I always think I could read so much more, but I take breaks and everything. Of course, it's hard with my schedule, but yeah, I'm about to put my glasses back on. So fun. I really think that I would like to do some of the books that I read in 2021 and read them next year. I read some really good books last year. Definitely some books I would like to revisit. That's when I started to kind of be in like my I'm not gonna lie, I was reading the bestsellers. I was reading like book talk wasn't a thing. Not for me, but I was reading the booktube, like the booktube popular books. 2021, I think I started to kind of understand that. Don't get me wrong, I still like a booktube recommendation, but I started reading books that kind of just more so stood out to me. And then of course now I read like a mix of both, but it was definitely really interesting experience and kind of just cool to see like how my thought process has changed. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.